The next presentation is by Théo Heugebaert. Yeah, sorry for my French pronunciation. From Université Rennes 2. And his title is Visualizing Rhythms Through Digital Annotations, Challenges and Issues in the Performing Arts. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm a little shaky, it's my first presentation and at the conference and in English. So despite my lack of experience, I hope I'll do justice and capture the attention of this prestigious and engaging audience. So let's begin. By working on rhythm in performing arts for my PhD, particularly on how rhythm develops during the creative process, I encounter a significant challenge. As a temporal phenomenon, once performed, rhythm leaves no material trace and barely any vague memories. During rehearsals, I am faced with what I am able to perceive, understand, and note in the moment, and then there is everything else that either helps me shift my focus to the next occurrence or is lost. Not only does video and audio recording help mitigate this issue by allowing me to review what I might have missed, but it also enables me to annotate these documents to draw my new observations, no longer solely based on my sensations and intuitions, but now factual and quantitative. Here, I will discuss two approaches I am developing to attempt to measure rhythms and their mutations during the creative processes, one focusing on the speaking rate of performers, and the other on visualizing the combinations of rhythms performed by the actors. What is rhythm, especially in performing arts? It's a delicate question and fascinating that I won't have time to address here, unfortunately. So without delving into details, we'll say that rhythm is the structuring of the qualities of a movement, whether vocal, gestural, luminous, or others, over a duration. In other words, as I like to put it, identifying the rhythm of a phenomenon means identifying what moves within its movement. And the rhythm is identified by four main characteristics: the rhythmic medium, like gesture, prosody, light, the identity of the performer, the qualities of the movement, the duration, and a fifth characteristic, which stems from all the previous ones, focuses on how rhythms are combined with each other. As mentioned, rhythm itself is intangible, evanescent. However, the characteristics that compose it are not. By identifying the connection between different characteristics and then measuring them from videos or audios, we obtain traces of the rhythms of creation and, in this case, their mutations during the creative processes. Thus, by connecting the question of duration to the type of movement that is prosody, we can identify and calculate performers' speaking rate. We know well that speed is not rhythm, but since it allows us to relate duration to a quantity of a type of movement, it provides us with an indication of rhythm variations. If the speed changes, it's evidence that the rhythm does too. Here, I will present some graphs obtained by measuring the duration data from my annotations of rehearsal sequences of Les Paravents, directed by Arthur Nosiciel. Indeed, my PhD in theater studies is not only focused on digital humanities approaches, but is also labeled research creation. In this context, I am involved in following creative processes as an assistant director. This was notably the case with this production and the one I will discuss later on. Upon listening, I identified, marked, and distinguished timestamps of speech and non-speech moments. By summing the durations of speech and non-speech moments, I gained insight into the overall rhythmic composition and mutations in its composition during the creative process of this production. Specifically, I noted that the play is mainly structured by prosodic rhythms with non-speech moments serving as counterpoints. This particularly justifies the relevance of measuring speaking rate to analyze rhythm, since this measurement will encompass approximately 85% of the creation. Once these speech moments are segmented according to the entry or exit of a performer in the dialogue, and the number of words in each sequence is counted, I can measure the speaking rate. By averaging over the duration of the scenes, we obtain a first reading of the rhythm of the production and its transformations. By going from green to red, we observe the curves of different dress rehearsals and the evolution of speaking rate during dress rehearsals. We thus see that the dress rehearsal period itself is a moment of crystallization of the rhythm of the production with a noticeable acceleration in all speaking rates. But this also indicates the influence of other characteristics of rhythms on the production's rhythm, such as the different performers on one hand and the nature of the scenes on the other hand, since this acceleration is not evenly distributed. And having been present during all the rehearsals, I know that the content itself has almost not changed during this period. Again, I won't delve into further details, but you understand where this analysis can lead, particularly in attempting to demonstrate the involvement and influence of the different performers on rhythmic variations during the creative process. This measurement of the speaking rate is also a way to project and speculate on results for artistic teams. Indeed, Les Paravents is a very long play with a complex language, and the question of maintaining a form of audience attention throughout the production is essential. During rehearsals, Arthur Noziciel asked me to calculate, based on my measurements and annotations from the early dress rehearsals, what average speaking rate will be needed to keep the production within a certain duration. These are represented by the blue and purple curves on the graph. Upon seeing the results and discussing them, we realized that the required average speaking rates to achieve such a duration wouldn't be attainable, which allowed the director to adjust his discourse and rhythmic objectives accordingly in the final dress rehearsals. The second approach I wanted to share with you, rather than combining duration characteristics and the sole rhythmic medium of speech through the speakingness, speakinglessness Boolean, so to say, which we've discerned some limitations of here, focuses more on the combination and articulation of the different rhythms performed by the actors. To do this, video annotation will dedicate itself to many more elements. Firstly, identifying rhythm performers. Then identifying the three main rhythmic mediums involved, namely prosody, gestures, and movements. Again, annotating timestamps, but not only for the different rhythmic mediums, but also for the different qualities that characterize them. I grouped these rhythm qualities into 5 categories on a scale from 0 to 5, with 0 for absence, 1 for latent presence, 2 for minor rhythm, 3 for primary rhythm, 4 for rhythmic rupture, and 5 for major rhythmic rupture. I was able to perform this annotation combination using the motion bank software that Scott de la Junta spoke about yesterday. Before showing you the results that I can export from these annotations from a sequence of Salinger directed by Ludovic Lagarde and filmed at various points in the creative process, a very brief example. If on stage an actor speaks normally, their speech will be annotated as a 3. If someone in the background moves, their movement will be annotated as a 2. And if suddenly this person starts running toward the front stage, their movement will be marked as a 4. And finally, if these 2 people suddenly start singing, why not, death metal in unison, I will mark a 5 for the rhythm of their prosody. Once these data are exported to CSV and transformed into visualizations and analyzed, I am now able to see and therefore identify rhythms, rhythmic patterns, and their variations and mutations during the processes. Here, my 4 characteristics have transformed into different visual elements. Color for performer identity, line type for rhythmic medium, the x-axis for duration, and the y-axis for quality. From this, I can identify patterns to see and distinguish what fluctuates from what has mutated. Here, what we can observe are 5 identifiable patterns via the circles. And while overall we see that all, although fluctuating, tend to converge, the third one, the green one, is marked by a strong mutation and a drastic transformation. Thus, having been present during rehearsals, I can explain this mutation, which is actually due to the dramaturgical nature of this passage, which stems from the interpretation of a long stage direction that the actors struggled to find a form for. And they precisely found the rhythm in stripping it down significantly. These were two opportunities for analysis offered to me by audio and video annotation, allowing me to access rhythmic indicators. But the question of annotation goes even further in an autotelic dynamic, since firstly, annotation allows me to extract data and conduct analysis, and secondly, the protocols for visualizing these analyses are directly integrated into the playback of audios or videos. Indeed, as demonstrated by the situation with Arthur Noziciel, artists themselves are curious and eager for tools to think about, annotate, and compare the rhythms of their creations. Finally, to conclude, I wanted to highlight the potential of automation with a short video that these initial rhythmic indicators have. It's a fresh example from very last week that we worked with Claire. Thank you, Claire, for your help.
No problem.
And, here on the conference.
We'll play it.
Yeah, so it's on the question of gesture and movement rhythms that I'm currently attempting with Claire's help to automate using AI and pose detection. The idea here is firstly to attempt to find a difference in value between movements and gesture, and then within these two rhythmic mediums to restore this gradation between absence, latent presence, minor rhythm, primary rhythms, rupture and major rupture. It's just the beginning, but I hope it will be very promising, and Claire and I will be very happy to continue the discussion about it during the break or with your questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, very interesting. So now we will take some questions.
Did you do live annotation or it was post recording and then?
For the audio, it was live, and for the movement and the combination, it was viewing and reviewing the same sequence too much times.
Thank you.
Actually, I would like to ask a question. I think this is a super interesting project, and I don't assume that you will right away respond to this question because it's a huge one. But I just started to think that. So, what is your hunch on kind of like what is being conveyed by the rhythms in performing arts? What are the? I can understand that it's a kind of like myriad. You know, there are a lot of these things, but are there certain things that you already kind of like can see that? What kind of like what is the meaning of rhythm in the performances in general? What is your hunch?
Yeah. I would say that the question of time and duration, it's the essential of performing arts. And the rhythm is the way it structures the durations of a play or of choreography. So it's really central for me in every specific point because each movement or each way an actor or performer choose to say anything, it's defined by specific quality of rhythm, sometimes really measured in a specific duration, but sometimes it's more complex and the same in improvisation, the place of the rhythms, how you manage to create something instantly, but still has temporal structure. So yeah, it's basically on every point of performing arts, I would say.
Thank you. Excellent. Please join me to thank Théo once again.